Gratitude changes the brain, literally. All the research shows that when we are grateful and when we experience and express gratitude, it releases neurotransmitters of dopamine and serotonin, which is really nature's antidepressant.
You were talking about Dan Siegel and the brain, the hand diagram of the brain.
Oh, yes. So if this is the brain, this is like the reptilian system, which is the fight, flight, freeze, avoidance. We're really to avoid being something else's lunch.
Instinctual.
Instinctual.
It's our instincts.
And then we have the limbic system, which is where our emotional world is, and really where we approach things that we're drawn to. And then there's the cortex, which is where we make meaning of things. And neuroplasticity, which means the changing of the brain, decreases as we go down the axis, and it increases as we go up. So when we practice gratitude, we're engaging the full brain because we're searching for meaning, what's meaningful and what can we be grateful for. We're activating our emotions of gratitude, compassion, love, and then that social engagement, the connection piece. And we're changing old patterns that have been ingrained from when we were little.
There's a feeling that comes with it, and that's the dopamine and the serotonin that's released. And so that feeling good actually is a positive change and rewiring in your brain.
That's crazy. So we can keep doing this and keep rewiring, and
we can make it a habit.
Yeah.
We can practice it regularly and daily.
Okay, how do we practice it? How does that work?
Well,
we can start with the gratitude journal because lots of people talk about
either
that. It's writing or talking, and either one actually just raises it to consciousness and allows us to become aware of what we're grateful for. And truly, if we can do 3 different things every day, that just expands our brain and expands the gratitude. So we can start with that. There's a habit, as Jen had spoken about, doing it maybe at the beginning of the day, during meals, or at the end of the day, because then it just becomes a habit and you remember it. That's the good thing about when you create a routine in your life. It's just a way of making it happen every day.
I love how you said, sorry Jen, how you said about writing it down, bringing it to the conscious. Like, I think of that and think of you're externalizing what's internal.
Yes.
That you don't really realize, and making it more real because it's now on a piece of paper.
And we're increasing our awareness by what we focus our attention on, because we can go through life blindly and just exist, or we can look for the small things that aren't so small of what we can be grateful for.
And they're there.
They're right in front of us.
But we might not be aware that they're there until we talk about it or write about it. Then we're like, oh, wow. Either these are things that happened today that we can be grateful for, or I did this today, and it was a really nice thing to do.
And even the act of asking the question, what am I grateful for? The research says it's not necessarily, you don't even have to find an answer, because we all go through times where it's hard to find things sometimes, or we think things are hopeless, and there's all kinds of chaos going on. But the very act of asking, what am I grateful for at this moment in time, that also changes the brain.
That is so cool. Okay, well, you had used a word a moment ago that just jogged my memory, and you said blind. And so what about the skeptics who are like, okay, gratitude is just fluffy, warm, fuzzy feelings. It's not anything actually beneficial. What's the difference between blind positivity and gratitude? Is there a difference?
I think there's a huge difference, because blind positivity is just like everything is roses and unicorns and butterflies, and not really seeing the reality that there is pain in the world and there is tragedy in the world. And gratitude is looking for those moments within the chaos, within the tragedy, and not being blind to it, having compassion for it, and finding something in that.
A silver lining or a sparkly moment. It can just be a moment. in that, darkness.
We had a conversation before about being grateful after coming home from traveling, and I was wondering if you could share a little bit about that.
Being grateful, no matter where I go in the world. I find I look for other people experiencing and expressing gratitude, and I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. The recent hurricane destruction in St. Martin, and hearing how the people there are handling the destruction of their homes, like their whole island has been destroyed, and yet they hold hope and positive attitude about rebuilding. It was destroyed 22 years ago, and they said, we rebuilt it then, and we're going to do it again. So that positive attitude, which isn't the Pollyanna rainbow, but it's like just let's be hopeful here. So no matter where I go in the world, looking for what is it that people have that they can be grateful for. In China, the pollution is so terrible. So I'm always grateful to come home to the air that we get to breathe here, but they don't get to do that. So looking for their moments of joy and when they feel, connected with themselves and in community, because community is it's universal. Yeah. Doesn't matter where you go in the world. So there's something to be grateful for.
And that's what I noticed on your Facebook page with the hurricane, was that you just felt this community coming together, and that they would be okay because together they were going to work through it, and they had done it before. And there was this feeling of positivity, like, it's not gonna take them right down.
Yeah, and gratitude. It's about being grateful for what you have.
Right, and there was that feeling in there.
So just to throw a curveball in this, totally. Although we did talk about this, we're kind of rewinding the tape. How do you balance being grateful, yet when you come home from these things, not feel guilty? Like, how do you balance the two, gratitude versus guilt in these certain situations?
Well, if we look at guilt as what's the motivation underneath the guilt, or what's the intention of the guilt, and if we turn the guilt into what can I do about this? What's my part in this? I think that helps. That helps me anyway. That helps me to put the guilt. It transforms the guilt, because we can look at. I mean, guilt is it's one of those tricky emotions that we can drown in guilt and we can let it consume us, or we can look at what do I need to do here, knowing that we can't save everybody, and although that would be nice if we could.
So again, it's just that being proactive about
and what's my part, and if I know that I'm doing something, if I can do one thing, no matter how small it might seem, if I can do one thing that makes a difference, that lessens my guilt.
And Susie, you had an experience like that too, coming home from Africa.
Yes, I did.
If I recall.
Yes. Well, my guilt was actually quite large when I came back from Africa, of just the concept that I was just born in North America, and these children and women are simply born in tragic conditions. And so when I came, the gratitude was a big part of lessening the guilt, of just feeling grateful to have been born in North America. And then what's my little piece? Just like what Jen was talking about there. And what can I do? And I've kept relationships with the people that I met in Uganda. And so that's a part that lessens the guilt, if you will. I just feel like, guilt's a part of life. It's just not making it so big, which it was quite big when I came back, of just feeling grateful that we're here. And what's my one little piece? What's the piece that's just going to be something that I can do? And you know what? It can be a small act here, serving our community. We have the benevolent fund at the counseling center that allows people who can't afford counseling to come, and that's a small piece. And so just honoring it. And once again, sometimes we can be doing these things, but if we're not talking about it, it can stay unconscious. And so just reminding myself of even those small little things help with that.
So the idea of paying it forward.
Yes.
Nice.
And that
Yes.
feels good.
And it does
right?
feel
raises
good. Serotonin and dopamine. So you're going to feel great after
Yeah.
you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing about gratitude is it does activate the social
Yes.
connection piece too. So you feel better when you're connecting with people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's one thing that you hope people take away from this video about gratitude, what would it be?
Find something to be grateful for. Like just,
Gratitude
Gratitude.
changes the brain.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
why not start practicing it?
View.
Behind the
Behind the
scenes.
scenes.
Behind the scenes.
That's what it
I
should be
like
called.
it.
Oh!
Behind
that's
the
a
scenes
good name!
with the therapist.
Beautiful.
I love
Oh my
it.
God, I'm so glad we were recording.
There you